Right, this is a how to manual video, but with a difference today, because I'm joined by a guest. This is Tom. You may have heard of Tom. He normally stands behind the camera. This time he's in front of the camera. Tom can ride a bike. I'm sure he can manual a bit, but I'm gonna run a coaching session from the start, run you through how to manual, and hopefully you guys at home can join in as well. Tom, you've been riding for quite a few years, I suppose?
Yeah, a long time. Too long, and I should know how to manual, really.
And your mates are Brendan Fairclough and Ollie Wilkins. And they've never taught you how to manual?
No.
So what's your biggest manual?
Probably about 2 meters. But I can manual like on a trail, I can manual through a hole, I can manual through a roller on a pump track.
Yeah.
I can bunny hop, I can jump, I can do drops. I just can't like do an impressive manual down a road to show off to my
mates.
mates.
We'll try and do that. But we'll also try and do it from the start to help out people that can't do that as well.
Yeah.
So I'll roll you through a coaching session like I used to do it. Start. So you don't need anything to try and learn to manual, just find yourself a big open space, fire road, slight downhill's perfect. It's going to be easier with a bike with a short stem, so 50mm stems all round, should be good. First part of the manual is the pump. So standing nice and tall on your bike, ready position, and then going straight down to your saddle and just trying to squash the bike into the ground. Squash, like pressure through your feet into the ground. Try and just go, it's going to feel weird because it's a bit unnatural to begin with, just go straight down. Because a minute you're kind of going a bit down and back, so almost go to the seated position, but not quite. And that's one of the big mistakes people make, is missing that straight down. They go diagonally down and back at the same time. So moving on to the L shape, and the easiest way of practicing this is don't try and actually lift the front wheel, just do the motion. So it's from ready position, straight down, then push the bike forward. So 2 movements, straight down, push the bike forward. That's it. And that bit's gonna feel weird to begin with probably. So just do it over and over, just like that. Real sort of stuttery. Tom's gonna have to unlearn what he already knows. It can take ages, you know, that whole 10,000 hours thing. I'm not sure I believe in that, but you just need to do it loads of times until that feels natural, and it can be, you know, 2 motions for as long as you want.
Like that slow, or?
Yeah, that's fine. Maybe try and get a bit lower to the rear wheel on the second bit. So I've got my seat right down and I almost sit, and then I'm quite low. My hips, you know, my bum's pretty close to the rear tyre. So straight down and then slide back and low.
Back and then sort of a little bit down towards the rear wheel. So that L shape I talk about, down, back, actually you want to sort of open it up a little bit. So it's like down and back. So this is where it's just practice, and it's got to become muscle memory. I don't know how long that could take, but it can take a while and can be frustrating, because then doing it in one motion can really sort of frazzle people's brains, and they go back to doing whatever they used to do, and it could be down and back, where it needs to be straight down and then roll back. How do you feel about the covering your brakes thing? I know you ride with one finger. Yeah.
So that's good. A lot of people ride with 2 fingers in their brakes, and I always say, right, just get used to riding with one, because you need to be covering all the time. But how do you feel? Do you feel confident about if the front wheel does come up, you know when to hit the rear brake?
I think so, but I feel like at the moment I would just jam it on.
Yeah, yeah. That's the way to do it. It will save your arse, literally. You can pretty much be vertical. If you hit it hard, it will bring the front wheel down.
Yeah.
It's just getting the judgment on when to pull it and how hard will take a bit of practice.
Yeah.
Best way to practice that is actually wheeling and just get used to the balance point and that. But it is just that safety, you know, safety net to hold on to all the time, because I reckon in a minute or 2 you'll get a good one when the movement comes and you'll go woof, and that's where you just whack that bad brake on as soon as you can.
Okay.
So worry about that
just
a bit more in a minute.
Just keep doing that L.
Yeah,
and then it'll just pop up.
So at the moment it's not quite popping because you've still got that bit of a pause, which we were practicing the 2 motions. So now it's got to be like whoosh, not a duh. And at the moment yours is a bit duh.
Let's try and make it one without cutting that corner.
Exactly.
Cool.
That's the one where, yeah, it's difficult because people then want to cut the corner.
Yeah.
You've still got to go straight down back. But it's a whoosh, not a duh. Nice.
I almost feel like I'm sort of like the front comes up and I'm like only just peering over my bars, like.
Yeah, that's all right though. That's probably because you need a bit more of the pump first, but you're right back. You know, if you're peering over your bars, you know that you're right back there.
Yeah.
And that's good, because also that's why I have to coach people out of the pull on the arms, because what a lot of people do is they stay in the middle and just rely on the arms, and your weight is sort of right in the middle of the bike. But it's good that you're saying that you're, you know, peering over the bars. Just to get it a bit more effortless, you need to get that stronger pump in the middle.
Okay.
And then finish up in the same spot, and then you'll go, whoa.
I'm going way faster than you were going just then. So what sort of speed? Does it not really matter, but not too fast?
You want enough to get a gyroscopic effect so you don't fall over sideways very easily, but it's not a case of throwing more speed at it. You can do it nice and slow.
Yeah.
The faster you go, the more chance of bruising and skinning when you fall off.
I'm just I don't know if I'm like, I've not got to the point where I've had to pull my brake yet.
Yeah.
Should I almost go for it and then?
I do think it's difficult, because if you don't get the brake nailed, you will loop out. So that's where the whole wheeling's a safer way of doing it, because you can go up the hill, you can go slower, and you can...
Neil, I think this might be a bad time to tell you, but I can't wheelie either.
But wheeling, it's a different skill, but you've got two safety nets, because if I'm looping out, I can back off the power and I can hit the brake. Yeah. So it's like a much safer way of learning your balance point. And learning to wheelie, I think you should be able to wheelie. You're a good enough rider. That's a different thing to practice.
I think like the problem I have with wheeling and manualing is the whole feeling of like going too far.
Yeah.
And like, I think when you're wheeling, you actually feel like you're looping out way more than you feel comfortable doing when you're learning it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and with a manual, you are pretty much in that loop out position. And that's why I go on about manualing's great for being able to do drops and stuff. But also, it gives you that skill of knowing exactly where too far is, because you've been too far. Yeah. So you know when you're bombing down trail, what it feels to be too far off the back of the bike, and it gives you a better judgment of not doing that so much. So it helps with lots of different types of riding. I reckon that's it. Your thing now is to get beyond that balance, the balancing point. So loop out and hit the back brake. Yeah, and do that over and over. So loop out, hit the brake. Yeah, loop out, boom, brake. And it's there. It's not, you know, not a million miles further back than where you are. So what you're doing there is quite common as well. Is doing like a little setup, sort of squish the suspension. Yeah. And it can actually sort of mess up your timing, and you get into the habit of then doing it. People do it with jumps as well, as they want to get like a, oh, I'm ready, and then boom. But just do a one motion, there's your manual. Don't do it. It's difficult. I used to find it easier to coach someone who is completely new to riding a bike than it is someone who's ridden for years. Yeah, it's bad habits, I suppose. Yeah, and like you said, for me, it's the years of practicing outside your house, messing around as like a 12-year-old. It's where I learned probably a lot of things that still I use nowadays, and manual is definitely one of those things where doing it in the 90s on my bike with a 80mm stem over and over.
So I never really did that. I sort of did a little bit. I think I learnt bunny hops and then that was it. Yeah. And then I was like, right, just go off in the woods and go and mountain bike, and never really spent that time that loads of people and loads of kids do. Just dirt jumps as well for me. I just spent hours and hours doing that, and that all adds up to these skills, being able to pump, manual, jump, that you can use for everything, riding down or riding cross country. And it's easy enough to learn, like I say. Need a road, need a fire road, whatever. Yeah. Doing it over and over. I think technique's there, you just need to do a bit more of everything, and then you need your back brake. Like a bit more aggressive on everything? Yeah. Or more like... Aggressive, maybe not, but like firm. Like to me, it does feel like a proper forceful thing. It may not look like it, but it's quite a swift movement. But definitely the manuals, you've got to learn to loop out and realise that your brake will save you most of the time, but that takes practice. Right, I filmed you. So this works really well. Doing slow-mo. This first one's actually really good. So if you watch that, standing nice and tall, straight down and then back. Yeah.
that's low, like you say, you're looking over top of bars. The only difference I reckon you see in my final position is I'm probably a bit lower to the rear wheel. You see your hips are behind your rear axle, so that's great. Arms straight, heads up, so that's the right position. Just could maybe finish a bit lower, and then you would be looping out, so you'd have to hit the brake. That's just what you got to learn. So I would say there's nothing wrong with the skill. The technique's fine now. It just needs a bit more of everything, and that's where you will go beyond the balance point. Okay. And it will take a while, and like I should say, sometimes it gets worse, and that is really frustrating because people think about it too much and it just goes out the window. So sometimes it takes a while. It could take coming back tomorrow and doing it again. It'll make a difference, but nothing wrong with technique, it needs a bit more force in it and a bit more movement.
That was kind of strange that time, like I thought more about the down and then bars forward rather than before I was thinking like down and bum back. Yeah. It's the same thing, but...
Yeah, I mean, whatever works, but it really is, you end up in the same position, you just slide the bike forward to get there. So yeah, try that. Down and hands forward. Nice. Yep, that's good. Nice. So that's wicked technique, and where it goes sideways just takes a bit more practice of getting the movement straight.
I'm still like, all of those I didn't feel like I was near a point of needing to hit that brake.
I reckon you were right on it. The way it floats and then drops, knows you're right up by the bounce point. Otherwise, if you're not there, it just dropped down quickly. So it's like, whoosh. So you're getting pretty close.
And do you like, because I know that when you do manuals, you kind of like, you use your hips a little bit. Yeah. But is it like better to just, when you begin, like ignore moving hips to try and hold the manual, but just use the brake? That's what I feel like I do. I feel like I move my hips up and forwards a bit when I get...
I get lazy and do it with the brake because it feels more fun to just hang on the brake, but really, you know, you watch BMXers do it with no brakes, it's all about the hips, and to begin with you probably just want to use your hips. But yeah, I find it fun to turn a manual into that coaster wheelie where I sit behind the balance point and just use the brake. Yeah. Feels more like a motorbike wheelie. I can't do them very well, but it feels cool. So yeah, hips more than brake, I would say.
But I feel like I'm almost over exaggerating hips, and like I get to the point and then I'm like move my hips forwards a bit.
So maybe you would be better off learning to loop and hit the brake. Because you are right there, and I don't want it to surprise you, but you know, not much further and the front will want to completely come up. Yeah. How's that feeling then, Tom?
Definitely way better. Like I feel like I know what I'm kind of doing more now. Yeah. Just more practice, I suppose.
It's always a way. And it's one of those things, like I've ridden with you loads, obviously. You're a really good rider. But if you want to go to like the very next level, it's learning where loop out play size. It's not necessarily being able to manual, it's just learning these like little details about balance on the bike, and I reckon it does help. Just practice. Yeah. If you want to see another video where I coach someone, click over there for the one I did with Evo, the guy who won the Nomad off GmbN Tech. I teach him a little bit on how to corner. I'll leave some comments down below. Any other skills you want to learn, I'll try and find another willing volunteer, or maybe Tom can do some more. Any other skills you want Tom to learn, leave them in the comments down below. Just thumbs up, hit that sub button.